Take in these words. Renewed fighting with the U.S. seems unlikely. That is the message from a senior official with Iran's Revolutionary Guard. In fact, they say that, but at the same time, they released this video. They claim it shows what's left of a U.S. Reaper drone shot down by an Iranian Air Defense Force team. Now, in that same statement, a top Iranian military official also warned that Iran has the right to respond to any violation of that ceasefire in place since April. So let's go live to CBS News Middle East contributor Courtney Kealy. So, Courtney, I'll go back to that statement from Iran. Renewed fighting does not seem likely. How confident are you that that will hold, and what would have to happen for them to break that intention stated?
Well, there's posturing, and then there's discussions. And what President Trump just said is Iran wants to make a deal. And you know he likes to make a deal. That is what Trump always stands for. And then the Iranians are still talking. So both sides are posturing. They're saying, we won't accept this and we won't accept this. And it's all very familiar. Opening the Strait of Hormuz. What Iran really wants is billions in frozen funds to be released. And they're talking about 12 billion out of 24 billion to be released now and the rest in 60 days. They would like that for war reparations and to kind of sweeten maybe giving up half of their highly enriched uranium. And the U.S. desperately, like most of the world, needs the Strait of Hormuz opened and not overseen or blockaded by Iran. But the U.S. also, when they launched some strikes because they saw Iran setting mines in the Strait of Hormuz, that didn't deter the talks. They didn't derail. So the mediators right now are Pakistan and Qatar. We saw them both in Tehran last week. We heard that both sides have a draft. But like I said, lots of flexing, lots of posturing. Let's see if they can actually get down to agreeing on certain things. And also, they need to have their domestic audiences. President Trump has to placate the Republicans, and the Iranians have to placate this whole kind of consortium of leaders now. Mojtaba Khamenei is not out in the public. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is. And leaders don't want to give up some things, and some are willing to do others. So we have to see this coalition come to some kind of agreement. And it's also hard to get the messages to Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei, the son. He is in hiding, and you know it's practically by carrier pigeon when you hear how hard it is to get to him.
You know, months ago when we covered the story of thousands of protesters there in Iran asking for regime change and change in their nation, we saw the internet go dark. But we're now starting to hear that the internet is coming back on, at least in patchwork form. What are you starting to hear by way of stories coming out of that internet now available to some?
So there are no real stories of what Iranians have been enduring, because also there's the fear of being monitored. There's a limited amount of Starlink availability there, and it's illegal. Then there are the VPNs that people can buy that can bypass certain regulations and certain restrictions. Those are expensive, and they haven't really come up. So what I'm hearing from sources there is businesses are online. You know, the president, Masoud Pezeshkian, he wanted to fix the economic crisis that's happening from not having commerce and internet sales and internet deliveries and internet, car rides and everything that happens with that connectivity, with cell phones and with Wi-Fi. So we're seeing that NetBlocks says it's up by 86%. People are skeptical and dubious that it'll last. They fear that, after it's been 87 to 88 days since it's been shut down, and it shut down the voices of Iranians. You remember when I was able to tell you exactly what they were saying from Tehran, and then we weren't able to at all. And so we have not heard those Iranian voices, but I do talk to sources, and I talk to friends if they're able to talk to their mom in Tehran or their husband who's there and they're not there. And usually it's by landline, usually it's brief, and it's always in code. You can't speak freely even on a landline because it's monitored. So it's really restricted, and people are really living in fear. They go to cafes and they live their life, but they know that they're being watched and they shouldn't say certain things.
Also, I've got to ask, sacred to millions of Iranians, of course, pilgrimage to Mecca. What are the impacts of the war on that?
Right. So this is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, and any Muslim who is physically or financially able to do this in their lifetime is expected to make this journey to Medina and Mecca, to where they are in Saudi Arabia. This year we're getting about 1.5 million people. They've been through the top pilgrimages sites, going to Mount Arafat, throwing symbolic stones against the devil. It's already started the Eid, which is really like Christmas or Easter, if you think about it. It's a holiday of faith. It's about the prophet Ibrahim being willing to sacrifice his son for God, and then God at the last minute says you can sacrifice a ram and adult sheep. So there's a lot of killing of sheep in a halal way, and then sharing that meat with people that don't have the means. There's charity involved. So what you have is war and issues like from Gaza to Lebanon to Sudan of people just not being able to celebrate it. I mean, it's a time where the kids get to dress up and they get new clothes and they get presents. So you have the Hajj, the pilgrimage, which is incredibly meaningful for Muslims to make that journey. And it's very hard to get them all in there and get them all out. It takes days. So we're kind of at the height of it. And then also people having friends that are able to do that. Gazans can't go. Iranians can't make it this year. It's hard for Sudanese. Southern Lebanon's a mess. They're not going to be able to make it as well. It's just war-torn at this point. So you're having an Eid that's overshadowed by war and conflict and the inability to actually celebrate it. Like it would be like no presents at Christmas.
All right, Courtney Kealy, thank you so much for that update.